The FBI safe house was a small cabin in the woods, 40 miles outside the city. No neighbors, no cell service, just trees and silence and two agents standing guard outside. Penny couldn't sleep. She sat at the wooden kitchen table in the middle of the night, Grandpa's notebook open in front of her. A single lamp cast shadows across the pages. Outside, owls hooted. The wind made the trees whisper. Agent Maria Gonzalez sat across from her, drinking coffee. She was young for an FBI agent, maybe 30, with kind eyes and a gun on her hip. "You should rest," Maria said gently. "The competition finals are in 4 days. You'll need your strength." "I can't sleep." Penny turned a page in the notebook. "Every time I close my eyes, I see our apartment burning." Maria reached across and squeezed Penny's small hand. "We're going to keep you safe." "I promise." "Can you keep everyone safe?" Penny looked up, her 6-year-old eyes too serious. "All the other contestants? The audience?" "Vincent Cole doesn't care who gets hurt." Maria's jaw tightened. "We're building a case against him." "But Penny, I have to be honest with you. Everything we have is circumstantial. The notebook proves he stole recipes, but proving he murdered your grandfather, proving he's behind the threats and the explosion, that's harder. So he gets away with it. Not if we can catch him in the act." Maria leaned forward. "The competition finals will be heavily guarded. We'll have agents everywhere, some undercover. If Vincent tries something, when he tries something, we'll be ready. You want to use me as bait?" Penny's voice was flat. Maria hesitated. "Your mother and I agree it's the best chance we have. You compete, you tell your grandfather's story on live television, and we protect you while we wait for Vincent to make a move." She paused. "But Penny, you're 6 years old. Nobody expects you to do this. We can protect you and your mother without the competition. You can have a normal life." Penny looked down at Grandpa's notebook. His handwriting, his recipes, his dreams. "Grandpa didn't get to have a normal life," she said quietly. "Vincent took that from him. If I don't finish what Grandpa started, then Vincent wins. He keeps his empire, he keeps lying, and Grandpa stays forgotten. Your grandfather wouldn't want you to risk your life." "Maybe not." Penny closed the notebook carefully. "But he'd want me to be brave. He'd want me to fight for the truth." She looked at Maria with determination that seemed impossible for someone so young. "I'm competing, and I'm going to win. Can you imagine having that kind of courage at 6 years old?" The next 3 days passed in a blur of preparation. Sarah wanted to cancel everything. She held Penny and cried and begged her to reconsider, but Penny was stubborn, just like Grandpa had been. "I have to do this, Mama," she said over and over. "For Grandpa. For us. For everyone Vincent has hurt." Agent Gonzalez and her team worked around the clock. They coordinated with the competition organizers to add extra security. They planted undercover agents in the crew, the audience, even among the camera operators. They installed metal detectors at every entrance. They screened every single person who would be in the arena. But Vincent Cole had resources too. Money, power, connections. The question wasn't if he would strike. The question was how. On the morning of the competition, Penny woke up before dawn. She packed Grandpa's notebook carefully in her backpack. She put on the white chef's apron Sarah had made for her, the one with Penny Brooks embroidered on the front in blue thread. She looked at herself in the mirror. She barely reached 4 feet tall. Her face was round with baby fat. She had lost a tooth last week, and the gap showed when she smiled. She didn't look like someone who could take down a criminal empire. But she felt Grandpa's presence around her, warm and strong, like he was standing right behind her, putting his hands on her shoulders the way he used to. "You can do this, Penny girl. I believe in you." "I believe in me too." "Grandpa," she whispered to her reflection. "Wait, I need to tell you something crucial." The arena was packed, every seat filled. The producers had announced this would be the most dramatic Junior Chef Masters finale in history. They had no idea how right they were. Backstage, the 5 finalists prepared for the final challenge. Trevor looked confident as ever. Jade gave Penny a nervous smile. The twins, Kyle and Kayla, were doing breathing exercises, and Penny stood alone, clutching her backpack. A production assistant came by with clipboards. "Okay, kids, this is it. The final challenge is going to be epic. You'll have 3 hours to prepare your signature dish, the one meal that represents who you are as a chef. Use any ingredients you want from the pantry. The judges will pick the winner based on taste, presentation, and the story behind your dish." Trevor smirked. "I've been preparing for this my whole life." "You're 12, Jade pointed out. "Exactly. 12 years of preparation. What's the baby got? 6 years?" He laughed. Penny said nothing. She was scanning the backstage area, looking for anything suspicious, any sign that Vincent was making his move. That's when she saw him. Vincent Cole walked through the backstage entrance like he owned the place, which in a way he did. His production company was one of the sponsors. He wore an expensive suit and his trademark cold smile. 2 large men in black suits flanked him, bodyguards. He saw Penny looking and waved, a friendly wave, the kind of wave a famous chef gives to a young fan. But his eyes were ice. Penny felt her heart hammering. He was here. He was actually here. Agent Gonzalez appeared next to Penny, dressed as a production coordinator. "We see him," she whispered. "Stay calm. Stick to the plan." The plan was simple. Penny would compete normally. If Vincent made a move, the agents would arrest him immediately. They had undercover agents positioned throughout the arena. Vincent couldn't hurt anyone without getting caught. At least, that was the theory. Little did they know, Vincent had a plan of his own. A plan so twisted, so ruthless, that even the FBI hadn't predicted it. Monica Reeves bounced onto the stage, her smile impossibly bright under the lights. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the finals of Junior Chef Masters," the audience roared. "Our 5 amazing contestants will now prepare their signature dishes. 3 hours on the clock, everything is on the line. The winner takes home $50,000, a culinary school scholarship, and the title of Junior Chef Master." The audience went wild. Penny walked to her cooking station on shaky legs. The counters seemed even taller than before, the lights seemed brighter, the cameras seemed closer. She climbed onto her step stools and looked at the massive pantry area. Every ingredient imaginable, anything she wanted. She knew exactly what she was going to make. "Contestants, are you ready?" Monica's voice echoed through the arena. 3, 2, 1, cook! The timer started. Penny didn't move immediately. While the other contestants rushed to the pantry, grabbing ingredients frantically, Penny stood still. She closed her eyes. She thought about Grandpa. She thought about Sunday mornings in his small kitchen, watching him cook while he told stories. She thought about the smell of his famous fried rice, the dish that had made him legendary 40 years ago. She thought about how his hands moved, quick and sure, like he was conducting an orchestra. She thought about the last thing he ever said to her. "Cooking is love made visible, Penny girl. When you cook for someone, you're giving them a piece of your heart." Penny opened her eyes. She knew what to make. She walked calmly to the pantry and gathered her ingredients. Rice, eggs, green onions, ginger, garlic, soy sauce, sesame oil, and one special ingredient from her backpack, the golden spice powder from Grandpa's secret recipe. She was going to make Grandpa's legendary fried rice, the dish that started everything, the dish Vincent had stolen and claimed as his own. And she was going to make it on live television, in front of millions of people, with Vincent Cole watching. This was her declaration of war. While Penny began cooking, Vincent Cole stood in the VIP section, watching. His face remained calm, but inside he was calculating. He had tried to scare the girl into quitting. Didn't work. He had tried to sabotage her ingredients. She had survived. He had tried to burn down her home. She had escaped. The child was like a cockroach, impossible to kill. But Vincent hadn't become one of the richest chefs in America by giving up easily. He had one final card to play. One move that would destroy Penny Brooks forever and make it look like an accident. He pulled out his phone and sent a text to someone in the arena. "Execute Phase 3, now." 3 rows behind Vincent, a woman dressed as a soccer mom received the text. She stood up casually and walked toward the backstage area. Security didn't stop her. She had a VIP pass, courtesy of Vincent's connections. She reached the electrical panel that controlled the cooking station's power. She opened it. She flipped 3 specific breakers, and Penny's cooking station went completely dark. "We have a technical difficulty at Station 1, Monica announced, trying to keep her voice cheerful. "Technical crew, we need assistance." Penny stared at her dead stove. The burner had been heating her wok, and now it was just off, cold. Her rice was half-cooked, ruined. She looked at the timer, 2 hours and 40 minutes remaining. If she started over now, she might have enough time. Might. But then the lights above her station flickered and went out completely. The audience murmured in confusion. "Ladies and gentlemen, please remain calm," Monica said. "We're experiencing some technical issues. We'll have this sorted out momentarily." Agent Gonzalez rushed onto the stage, along with actual technical crew members. They examined the station, checked the wiring, flipped switches. Nothing worked. "It's been sabotaged," one technician whispered to Gonzalez. "Someone manually killed the power to this specific station. It'll take at least an hour to fix." Gonzalez's face went hard. She scanned the VIP section and locked eyes with Vincent Cole. He smiled at her, a cold, victorious smile. She couldn't arrest him for a technical malfunction. There was no proof he was involved, and by the time they fixed Penny's station, the competition would be nearly over. Vincent had won. What would you have done in that moment? Would you have given up? Would you have asked for a do-over? Penny stood at her dark station, looking at her ruined ingredients. She felt tears coming. She had tried so hard. She had risked everything, and Vincent had beaten her anyway. Then she heard Grandpa's voice in her head, clear as day. "Real chefs don't need fancy equipment, Penny girl. They need heart." Penny's head snapped up. She looked around the arena. The other cooking stations were still working. The pantry was still open, and she had 2 hours and 38 minutes left. "Excuse me," Penny's small voice called out. Monica turned. "Yes, Penny? May I use alternative cooking methods if my station is broken?" Monica looked confused. I suppose so. But what?" "Thank you." Penny jumped off her step stools and ran to the pantry. The audience watched in confusion. What was she doing? Penny emerged carrying a huge steel bowl, a camping stove, used for outdoor cooking demonstrations, a wooden spoon, and fresh ingredients. She set up her new station on the floor. She lit the camping stove, and she started cooking from scratch. The entire arena went silent. Even the other contestants stopped to watch. This tiny 6-year-old girl, sitting cross-legged on the ground like she was at a campfire, cooking the most important meal of her life with equipment you'd use for a backyard barbecue. Trevor shook his head. "That's not going to work. You can't cook restaurant-quality food on a camping stove." But Jade smiled. "She's not cooking restaurant food, she's cooking real food." Sarah, watching from the audience, had tears streaming down her face. That was her baby down there, her brave, impossible, wonderful baby. Vincent Cole stopped smiling. For the next 2 hours, Penny cooked. She cooked the way Grandpa had taught her, with love, with patience, with respect for the ingredients. She fried the rice in small batches on the camping stove, adding each ingredient at exactly the right time. The ginger first, to perfume the oil, then the garlic, just until golden. The eggs, scrambled fluffy and soft. The rice, each grain separate and perfect. The green onions at the end for freshness. And finally, the golden spice powder. Just a pinch. The smell filled the entire arena. That incredible magical smell that made people think of home and happiness and everything good in the world. Even the judges, sitting 50 feet away, could smell it. Patricia Marsh stood up involuntarily, her nose in the air. "That smell. I know that smell." Marcus Chen was frozen in place. "That's impossible. That's the golden recipe, the original golden recipe." In the VIP section, Vincent Cole's face went white. Penny lifted her wok off the camping stove and carefully plated her dish. She had no fancy garnishes, no artistic presentations. Just a simple bowl of fried rice, steam rising, golden and perfect. "Time," Monica called out. All 5 contestants stepped back from their dishes. The judges walked down the line. Trevor had made an elaborate deconstructed sushi tower. Jade had created a chocolate sculpture shaped like a swan. The twins had prepared a 7-layer cake with spun sugar decorations. Every dish looked like it belonged in a fancy restaurant. Then the judges reached Penny's simple bowl of fried rice, sitting on the ground because she had no table. Patricia knelt down. She looked at the rice. She smelled it. Then she looked at Penny with tears in her eyes. "This is Henry Brooks' golden recipe," she said quietly. "The real one. The one that was stolen." The audience gasped. Penny nodded. "My grandpa gave me his notebook before he died. All his recipes, all his secrets, all the proof that his work was stolen by someone else." "Who?" Marcus demanded. "Who stole it?" Penny looked directly at the camera, directly at the millions of people watching at home, and she said the name clearly: Vincent Cole. The arena erupted in chaos. Vincent stood up in the VIP section, his face red with rage. "That's a lie. A ridiculous lie from a child who—" "I have proof," Penny said calmly. She pulled Grandpa's notebook from her backpack and held it up. "My grandpa wrote everything down, photos, letters, recipes with dates proving he created them years before Mr. Cole claimed them as his own." Her voice got stronger. "And I think my grandpa was murdered to keep him quiet." Security guards rushed toward Vincent as FBI agents revealed themselves throughout the arena. Vincent tried to run. He made it 3 steps before Agent Gonzalez tackled him to the ground. "Vincent Cole, you're under arrest for fraud, theft of intellectual property, and suspicion of murder," she announced loudly. The cameras captured everything. Vincent struggled. "You can't prove anything. I'm a respected chef. We have 40 years of evidence," Gonzalez said, snapping handcuffs on his wrists. "Including testimony from 3 of your former employees who are willing to testify that you've been stealing recipes from young chefs for decades. Henry Brooks was just the most famous victim." The audience was on their feet. Some people were crying, some were cheering, some were filming everything on their phones. Penny watched as Vincent was dragged away, still screaming his innocence. She felt empty. She had imagined this moment would feel triumphant, like justice, like victory. Instead, she just felt tired and sad that Grandpa wasn't here to see it. Patricia Marsh stood up and called for silence. "Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the most extraordinary competition in Junior Chef Masters history." She looked at all 5 contestants. "Each of you showed incredible talent and heart. But there can only be one winner." The arena held its breath. "However," Patricia continued, "before we announce the winner, I need to taste one more dish." She knelt down next to Penny's bowl of fried rice. She took a small spoonful. The moment it touched her tongue, her eyes closed. A single tear rolled down her cheek. "This is the most perfect thing I've ever tasted," she whispered. Then louder, so everyone could hear. "In 30 years of judging cooking competitions, I have never tasted anything that moved me like this. This isn't just food. This is love. This is memory. This is everything cooking should be." She looked at the other judges. They both nodded. "The winner of Junior Chef Masters is Penny Brooks." The arena exploded in applause so loud it shook the walls. Penny stood there, not quite believing it. She had won. She had actually won. Sarah ran onto the stage, scooped Penny into her arms, and spun her around while they both cried. Monica rushed over with a giant check for $50,000 and a trophy almost as big as Penny. But Penny barely noticed any of it. All she could think was, "I did it, Grandpa. I told your story. Everyone knows the truth now." 6 months later, the courtroom was smaller than Penny expected. She sat in the witness box, her feet dangling off the chair, and told the jury everything. About Grandpa's notebook, about the stolen recipes, about the threats, about the explosion. Vincent Cole sat at the defendant's table in an orange jumpsuit, looking old and defeated. The trial lasted 3 weeks. In the end, the jury took less than 2 hours to reach a verdict. Guilty on all charges. Vincent was sentenced to 25 years in prison. His restaurants were shut down, his cookbooks were pulled from shelves, his name became synonymous with fraud and theft. But here's the beautiful part. Henry Brooks's name was restored. News outlets ran stories about the legendary chef whose work had been stolen. Cooking schools began teaching his techniques. His recipes, the real ones from the notebook, were published in a memorial cookbook, with all proceeds going to culinary scholarships for underprivileged children. Penny and Sarah used the competition prize money to open a small restaurant in their neighborhood. They called it Henry's Kitchen. It served simple, honest food made with love. The restaurant was packed every single night. On the opening day, Patricia Marsh came to eat. So did Marcus Chen and Raymond Torres. Even Jade came with her family, and she and Penny laughed about the crazy competition that had changed both their lives. Trevor came too, surprisingly. He apologized for being mean and asked if Penny would teach him some of Grandpa's techniques. She said yes. The restaurant walls were covered with photos of Grandpa Henry, young and smiling in his chef's whites, cooking in fancy kitchens, teaching a tiny Penny how to crack eggs. Every dish on the menu had a story, and Penny made sure to tell those stories to every customer who asked, because that's what cooking was really about. Not fame, not money, not competition. It was about love made visible. It was about keeping memories alive. It was about sharing pieces of your heart with everyone who sat at your table. 1 year after the competition, on a quiet Sunday morning, Penny stood in the kitchen of Henry's restaurant. She was 7 now, a little taller, missing different teeth. She was teaching a cooking class to a group of kids from the neighborhood. Kids whose families couldn't afford fancy cooking schools. Kids who just wanted to learn. The secret ingredient, Penny explained, holding up a pinch of the golden spice powder, isn't really about the spices at all. My grandpa told me that once. Then what's the secret? A little boy asked. Penny smiled, a real smile, the kind that reached her eyes. The secret is caring enough to make someone's day better. That's all cooking ever is. You take ingredients and you turn them into love, and you give that love to other people. She sprinkled the powder into the rice. The spices just helped tell the story. She thought she heard Grandpa's laugh then. Warm and proud. Maybe it was just the wind through the open kitchen window. Maybe it was something more. Either way, Penny knew the truth now. Grandpa had never really left. He was in every dish she cooked. He was in every story she told. He was in every child she taught. He was in the love she put into the food. And that kind of love, that never dies. That lives forever.